was, for me, it was just like a mic drop moment, right? You said, no, the only opinion that matters is the opinion of your paying customers.
Hey everybody, my name is Corey Miller. I'm the agency growth lead at A2 Hosting, who is asked Troy Dean, a longtime friend of mine of agencymavericks.com fame, to come on and share this. Now, here's the deal. Troy and I go way back. When I'm talking way back in internet terms, it's like 15 years easily. We got to meet Troy, and I have been a huge fan of his work since that time. He's grown a great business helping agencies. And so I asked him to come on and share this. What's on the top of your mind? And this is it. Now, I got a preview in MavCon, and you can tell more about this in a second, Troy, but MavCon, 60 plus agency owners in a room talking, how do we grow? How do we scale? And I got to be there flat on the wall, and I took so many notes. I was like, Troy, I'm not even an agency owner, but this is good stuff I want to get down. But today's topic is the one that I got this really good preview. I was like, tell me more. And we wanted to offer it up to our A2 Hosting audience. But Troy, thank you for being on the show today. Thanks for your friendship as always. And I'm really pumped to talk about this.
Dude, I mean, this is like the Mutual Admiration Society, right? Because it blows my mind to hear you say that you've been a fan of mine for so long, because like literally you were one of the first people I met when I landed in the US for the first time ever. And I was like a rabbit in the headlights. I was so overwhelmed. I was so intimidated. All the WordPress rock stars were there back in the day. This is like, I don't know, 2014 or something, like 100 years ago.
Long
and
time.
you and I met at the bar and just clicked, man. We just connected, and over life, right? We weren't even talking about agency stuff. We were just connecting about, kids and family and our journey. And then you gave the presentation at Pressnomics the next day, and you said something that I'll never forget. And it was, for me, it was just like a mic drop moment, right? You said, no, the only opinion that matters is the opinion of your paying customers. Mm. And that did wonders for my confidence. I since learned during that event and post-event that I wasn't the only person that had to run back to my hotel room and take a breather every now and then, because I was just overwhelmed. So, you've just been such a massive influence on me over the years and such an inspiration. And I'm so pleased that you could come out to MavCon, and I'm so grateful for this opportunity to be here. So thank you. And I can see some people coming into the chat. Yes. Can I just get everyone to let us know in the chat which country you're from, just so I can kind of get a bit of a heads up as to who's here. And then when we're ready, I can share my screen and we can kick off if you like.
Yeah, I love this, doing it with a pro like you that have done this so many different times. You're way ahead of me. Now, I want to say this. If you don't know Troy and agencymavericks.com, you should go check it out. But I'm skeptical, Troy. Anybody that does sales and marketing, I'm always the skeptical thing. But here's the thing, and Troy knows this. I don't lavish praise on people that's probably unwarranted. I see it. I go, there's no BS here. It is, you've lived this life. You really care about the people doing this work. You see your passion on stage. You'll see it here today, but he's walked the talk, and he's just always pointing toward, how do I help agencies grow? And that's why I listen, because it's the real genuine thing that works. You unpack so many things in those 3 days at MavCon. I was like, oh my gosh, you have a working session the third day, I think. And I was like, he's brilliant. I couldn't be there for that, but I needed that, because now it's the execution of it. And, there's not a lot of people, I'll just say this to everybody out there, that talk about sales and growing your business and do it in a way that I've seen Troy do it superbly, consistently, and also just the right way for a long time. And so when you kept saying how to get paid for your discovery, I was like, that's interesting. I've done enough work in client services to go, oh, I just thought you did that for free, and you're flipping the model. And so I'll say, Troy, when you're hearing Troy today, think of him as a mindset coach. And that mindset coach is going to help you really grow your agency, but also do it in the right way that points to your goals. So we've got some comments coming in. We got US. Did you see all these?
Yeah. I'm seeing all these people come in here. I love to do a bit of a roll call and just, it's good to see who, I recognize some of these names, some I don't, which is awesome. We've got people from Australia. We've got people from New York. We've got people from flooded North Carolina, Beth Livingston. Oh, my heart goes out to you. We we had Tyler and Britt in the room from North Carolina at MavCon, and they were saying that, you know, that they fortunately moved out of their town a couple of weeks before the weather came, and they're in a really bad spot there. So we're all thinking of you and sending our love and prayers and wishes to you over there. Tamara's here from London. We've got people from Santa Cruz, Denver, Colorado, Athens, Greece. It's amazing. I mean, what a time to be alive, right? I mean, we can just connect through the internet and hang out with like-minded people from all over the world and share our stories. I mean, it's ridiculous, isn't it? I'm so grateful for the opportunities to connect with everyone and to be here. And I just want to say, the thing about one thing I learned about the mindset stuff, one thing I learned very early on, I kind of have this rule that if I get feedback from people or advice from someone, I'm a bit like you, I'm a bit skeptical too, right? But if I get the same advice from 2 or 3 independent sources who don't know each other and aren't talking to each other about my situation, but they give me the same advice, my spidey senses go up and I'm like, there's something in this, right? And the advice I got from mentor, because I spent a long time trying to make money online, right? I'm unemployable. And I've worked that out in my sort of late 20s, early 30s. And then I spent years trying to figure out how to make money online. I did all sorts of crazy stuff, right? I started a website called ecoffeemachines.com and tried to be an affiliate marketer for coffee machines. I ended up selling that website for $60. So I made my first dollar online. I did all sorts of crazy stuff. And the advice that I kept getting from mentors was the way, like, don't focus on revenue. Don't focus on making money. Just focus on being the most helpful person in the room. And if you become the most helpful person in the room, the money will take care of itself, right? Now, there's a few mechanics that you got to have. You got to have some things in place where you can actually accept money from people, and you got to have a pricing strategy and all that kind of stuff, which we can talk about. But the mindset for me is I now just want to turn up. I just want to help as many people as I possibly can who are in the agency space. And I have zero expectation of anything in return other than trusting that the universe will provide, because I'm putting so much out and it's proven itself time and time again. And this is the mindset that I help our agency owners with is, you know, one of the first things we talk about is you can't influence revenue, right? Because revenue is a lagging indicator. All you can do is influence the actions you take now that will result in more revenue in the next 30, 60, 90 days. But you can't come to work and say, I need to make more money. That's a dangerous trap that's going to keep you in a scarcity mindset, and it's going to make you make bad decisions, and you have to get off that treadmill and focus on what actions can I take now to be the most helpful person to my clients and my network, and trust that the revenue will take care of itself, because it will. So I just wanted to, well, hello, April. April's here. So yeah, just wanted to kind of set that scene. Should I share my screen? Are people ready?
Yes.
To share my screen? All right, let's do this. So I'm going to try and keep this a conversation, but I do have some things I want to share with you, and I'll make sure also, like, if you guys end up, you want a copy of their slides or whatever, I can make sure I'll get a copy to Corey, and we can get that distributed at some point so that you guys can reference it. But this really, you guys can see my screen okay? Yeah?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. So I'll just get through this pretty quickly. There's a bit of content here, but I'll get through it so we can have a conversation about it, right? And Corey, if you get any questions along the way, or if people are putting their hand up and asking questions, just interrupt me. It's totally fine. So this is an idea I came up with a while ago called the Simplified Agency. I've been working with agency owners since 2012. We started a WordPress plugin. I've been running agencies since 2007, and I've been kind of mentoring and coaching agencies since 2012. So I've seen inside thousands of agencies, everywhere from people who are just starting out and have no revenue to agencies that are doing over $4 million a year. So and that's really kind of the top end of my sweet spot. I've got friends who work in agencies that are doing 30 million a year and have, 200 staff. I'm not interested in those organizations because they move too slowly. There's so much baggage. To get things to change in an agency that size, you really need to hire a change management consulting company. And I'm not interested in that, right? That's like high-end enterprise corporate stuff. I'm in the, if you're just starting out up to sort of $5 million a year, this works really well. And what I've learned is that scaling, getting to the next growth level, getting to $1 million a year is actually not that difficult, to be honest, right? Getting to sort of 300 is a big milestone. Getting from 300 to 700 is a big milestone. Getting to $1 million is a massive milestone, and most agencies won't get there. Getting from 1 to 3 million is difficult. Getting past 3 million is really, really hard in the agency game. Very difficult, because you basically end up in what I call the labor rental market, right? You've got a whole bunch of talent in your studio and you rent them out to your clients. And labor rental is a horrible business model, because you eventually become a kindergarten cop or a primary school teacher. You're just looking after a whole bunch of emotional people, trying to get them to do their job, right? So, but across the full range of these agencies, the one thing I see is the thing that holds most agencies back is doing custom bespoke services or projects for every client that comes in the door. Very difficult to scale that kind of business model. And so I came up with this idea called the simplified agency, which is the new way to create more profit from your agency by doing less work and doing it better. All right. So I'm just going to skip through this at a fairly quick pace. So you can do this without changing anything you're doing or adding any new services. You don't need to all of a sudden become an SEO expert or add, paid media or paid ad management to your agency in order to do this. You don't need to change anything you're doing or adding any new services. You just need to change the way you talk about it. And I'm also going to show you how you can use AI to jump to the front of the pack and speed these processes up. So you'll be amazed to discover you're already sitting on a hidden recurring revenue stream. We just got to repackage what you're doing and represent it. And if you stay with me, you'll discover the number one secret to getting paid more for the work you're already doing, your clients perceiving you as more credible, your team having more time and focus to do their best work, even if your team is just you. I want to give you more time so that you're not scrambling, all without wasting time doing free strategy sessions or writing lengthy proposals. And yes, full disclaimer, I still give away my proposal template as a free lead magnet, and it has generated multiple 7 figures and has been downloaded by hundreds of thousands of people all over the world. And there is a place for it. But in my opinion, proposals today in 2024 are actually slowing you down, and I don't think you need to do it. And I'll show you what we suggest instead. And I want to free up your time so you can spend more time having the impact you want to have. Okay? There's no value in you spending your entire life pounding the keyboard, pumping out deliverables for clients. Okay? You're just going to get stuck. If you're on that treadmill, you're just going to get stuck and you're not going to be able to have the impact that you want to have. Plus, I'm going to do my best to tell some dad jokes. So, plus, as we mentioned, I think in the emails around this, I'm going to offer you 90% off our flagship training to help you move fast. So stay with me for that. And it's totally fine if you guys have already got that training or you're already doing this in your agency. It's totally fine. I'm not going to be, I just want to give you guys an offer where you can take this further if you want to move quicker. So let's just set the tone. This is for agency owners who have a proven track record of getting results for clients. So if you're just starting out, my number one piece of advice is just go and do some work for someone, even if you do it at cost or you do it pro bono, just to get a case study or some testimonials, right? Because that is going to help. That's going to accelerate your results if you've got some social proof. You want to create wealth for your family and not burn out. And if you're coachable and you're an action taker, it's not for people who want to create passive income. This is not a magic bullet or a get rich quick scheme. And it's if you've got a stuck mindset and you're not willing to try new things, that probably isn't going to work. So we see a lot of, and also when I say agency owner, I'm referring to web design, SEO, digital marketing, AI. We have automation agencies. We have video marketing agencies. We have content marketing agencies, branding agencies. If you're in the business of selling marketing related services to other businesses, then you're in the right place. Okay. If you're an e-com store and you're selling hoodies to consumers, then you're probably lost and I'm not sure how you got here. So I just wanted to clarify that. All right. So we see a lot of agency owners who are running around with their hair on fire trying to scale. They're constantly putting out fires and dealing with client requests. They're micromanaging staff or projects to make sure things get done the right way and on time. They're chasing clients for content and feedback to stay on track. They're doing free strategy sessions to try and close the next client. They're trying to find the next A player for their team, or they're writing up their SOPs in the evening instead of switching off and winding down. These are some of the common symptoms that we see across the board. And these are all symptoms of the fact that the business model that most of us have got was never designed to scale, right? The agency business model comes from the 1800s, believe it or not, the late 1800s. The first actual advertising agency came out of Philadelphia And the word agent was, what these guys would do is they would go and buy bulk media in newspapers, and then they would resell that. They'd cut it up into smaller chunks and resell it to their clients. They were literally an agent for the newspapers, right? And the business model that was designed to scale was the margin in the media. So you would make a markup on the actual media space that you would buy. And then radio and television happened, and there was huge margin in radio and television for years, and that's where agencies made all of their money. Then what happened in the early 1900s, before TV and radio happened, is the early 1900s, there was an agency, I can't remember the name of it, but there was an agency who realized that most advertising campaigns failed because the creative and the copy wasn't very good. So the very first full-service agency was born. Again, I've done the research on this. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. But a guy started an agency and he named it after his grandfather. And that agency was the first agency that would not only buy the media, but would also write the copy and come up with the whole campaign, the whole idea, right? And if you've seen Mad Men, you know how this works, right? That's the agency model. Now, the margin in that business model was still in the media, okay? There was very little margin in the creative and the copy. All of the money was made out of buying and reselling the media and marking up the media, called media buys. And that's what we do now with the internet. We buy Meta ads or Google ads, and we're media buys. Now, the problem, what happened with the internet is there's no margin in the media because you can actually see your cost per click, your cost per impression, your cost per everything, right? So it's very hard for an agency to make any real money out of marking up the media. What you do now is you charge an ad management fee. And then what happened, so the margin then moved to the creative and the campaigns. And so then, with the advent of the internet, we started building websites, and the agencies realized the reason this is failing is because we've got nowhere to drive these ads, and we need to set up a website so we can drive the ads somewhere, right? And so then the margin became in the creative and the copy and the deliverables, right? What happened then is, because of the internet, marketplaces like Fiverr and Upwork and Odesk, or whatever it was called back in the day, these Rent-A-Coda, these places sprung up, and very quickly the earth became flat. What I mean by that is that you could hire a developer in Pakistan for $5 an hour, right? And we have had team in India and Vietnam and the Philippines and Thailand, because the economies of scale and the way that the global economies work is it makes sense for us to hire someone in an emerging economy because we can get the thing done cheaper. The problem with that is that the margin, the creative and the copy and the stuff that we were producing became cheaper and cheaper as these emerging economies came online and started to offer their services. And look at what happened with Envato, right? Most of the producers and creators of content that was sold on Envato lived in India and Pakistan and Sri Lanka and Bangladesh and Thailand and the Philippines and Vietnam. And they were able to produce this really high quality assets that our studios could resell and use, but it became a race to the bottom. And so the margin in the creative and the deliverables disappeared. So I firmly believe that and with AI, it's like, forget about it, it's game over, right? If you're a video editor or an audio editor and you make your money out of editing podcasts, right? You're done, right? I mean, the robots are just doing this. I mean, I was in California, and I was up in West Hollywood because I like staying in West Hollywood because I think it's one of the beautiful little pretend bubbles in the world that's like not in touch with the real world, and I just like to go and disappear there for a couple of days and pretend I'm a billionaire. And I was there at the hotel, and I was watching this. It looked like a big esky like a hybrid of like an esky and a dog on wheels, kind of driving along the street, dodging pedestrians, waiting at the stoplight. I'm like, what the heck is that? It's food delivery. It's driverless food delivery. I'm like, man, if you're an Uber Eats driver, you're cooked. You better skill up real fast, because that's just replaced you, right? And they have Waygo, driverless cars. You can get in an Uber and there's no driver, right? So the robots are doing more and more. So I firmly believe that the only margin left is in the relationships that you have with your clients and the strategy, right? The whole idea behind the thing that we're trying to build. And most of us are doing that work anyway. We just call it onboarding, right? We're doing the strategy piece in the onboarding. I'm going to show you how to do that up front and get paid for it. So before we dive in, I just want you to imagine enough recurring revenue that you can happily turn away bad clients. Our motto here at Agency Mavericks is that you should be profitable from day one, like the first of the month. You wake up and you go, well, we're already profitable from our recurring revenue. So If an idiot walks in the door with a $10,000 website, but we know that the client's going to be really painful, we can just turn them away because we don't need the work. That's the place where you want to be. Working less hours than you are now and making more profit. I know that sounds like hyperbole, but stay with me because we've just seen it happen time and time again. Stepping away from the business and it actually growing without you being in the building, spending more time doing the things you love with the people you love, with the peace of mind that your business is going to continue. And instead of feeling overwhelmed by all the things and wanting to burn it to the ground, I have a conversation every week with an agency owner. I have to talk them off the ledge because they just want to burn it to the ground and go and get a job at Walmart. And imagine owning a business that is super profitable and works for you instead of you working for it. This is the goal, okay? And the reason this is the goal is because agencies are very hard to sell, but if you get an agency to a point where it's attractive and it is saleable, even though they're very hard to sell, what that means is that you can step back and it doesn't rely on you doing all of the things to give you an income, because that's, full respect, but that's a job. If you're doing all of the things to provide you an income, then you have a job, which is fine, but there's no leverage in it. So just some of our agencies, Simon Major took a month off in August and went to Italy and, is traveling the world with his wife and the team's doing all the work. He's tripled his agency since working with us and is now working about 3 hours a day. He calls me most days at 11 o'clock and he's like, I'm bored. What am I supposed to do now? I'm like, go for a walk, get out of the building, get out of the way and stop breaking stuff. And for a long time, his biggest problem was he would stay in the building and he would just break stuff, right? Because he was bored. And so we've just removed him from the agency. Nathan Perick sponsored this school in, I think it was Kenya, for about 2 years through his local church. And he took 2 weeks off and was able to go and visit these kids and hang out with them while his agency continued to operate without him. So these are just some of the wins that I like to see that are not about revenue, not about the numbers. It's about the impact that people want to have with their life.
Troy, so, I know Nathan.
Right, there you go. There you go.
That is so cool. And he is passionate about the things. So he's making a business to where you're done with him, help him do what he really is called to do.
Yeah,
in his life.
Awesome. And that's what it's about for us. It's like our whole vision is that we enable agencies to operate from a state of abundance. And I know this is, very woo-woo, and I like woo-woo, and Corey and I have spoken about this a lot over the years.
For woo-woo fans.
Man, I'll tell you something. I have seen firsthand what happens when communities operate from a state of abundance and not fear. Right? They make better decisions. They're more welcoming of people from other backgrounds. They just collaborate and they can do amazing things together as a community. But you can't do that if you're worried about how you're going to feed your own family. And so my job, and I grew up in a very working class background in the northern suburbs of Adelaide. I was very fortunate that, we always had food on the table and I never wanted for anything, but there wasn't an excess of money. I grew up with the message that money doesn't grow on trees, right? And the irony is I grew up in the 70s where money was actually made from paper and actually did grow on trees. That's the irony. But the message I got was, rich people are bad and, money doesn't grow on trees. What I've figured out is none of that's true. I've changed my mindset because I've learned. And my job, the reason I get out of bed every day is because I want to create abundance for our agency owners because I see them as a distribution channel. If we can help our agency owners do a better job for their clients, then one agency can potentially make 10, 15, 50, 100 clients more successful because we're helping the agency. There's 100 small businesses that we're impacting to become more successful. That's creating jobs. That's making communities wealthier, happier, healthier, more abundant. So that's why we do what we do. All right. We're ready to dive in. Yeah? Let's do it. Here's the model, okay? So the main problem with how agencies acquire clients is it's unpredictable and you have very little control over the process. Here's the model. Someone puts their hand up and expresses interest in what it is you're doing. You have an initial call with them, right? You go through a whole bunch of stuff. They ask you a bunch of questions. You give away a bunch of ideas. You connect with them. At the end of it, usually these calls last 45 minutes to an hour. It's just human nature. At the end of it, they say something like, hey, can you send us a proposal, which is a delaying tactic. You send them a proposal, you follow up. You send them that magic email to close the loop. You either win them, they ghost you, or they're not qualified, right? Now, the problem with this model is that the buying journey is broken up into 3 phases: awareness, consideration, and decision. So when someone is aware that they have a problem, they put their hand up and say, hey, I'm interested in what you do, Beth. Can you help us? Then you have that call. Then they go into consideration phase. They might be talking to some other agencies. They might just be considering not doing anything at all. By the way, your biggest competitor is inaction, not another agency, okay? Now, this consideration phase lasts a long time. Typically what happens is someone makes an emotional decision to buy something, and that happens very quickly, and 95% of the decision is now made. The last 5% of the decision is the logical brain trying to rationalize the spend, and that can take years, right? The problem with this acquisition process is that you have no control over the consideration process apart from sending them some emails and not annoying them and not trying to annoy them too much. And then they make a decision about whether or not to work with you. And this converts, proposals globally converted about 25 to 40%. I know this because a lot of the proposal software companies actually use my proposal template, and I have relationships with these guys, and they tell me the conversion rates of most proposals globally, right? 25 to 40%. And again, the big problem is you have no control over the process. You're just waiting for the client to come back to you. The 2-call sales process that we sort of started teaching and pioneered for agencies pre-COVID was that you would have a pre-qualifying process with someone. In other words, you just have a very quick, email, chat, messenger, whatever it is, to make sure they're a, legit prospect. You then have a very quick triage call to make sure that, they're a good fit. You then send them some homework. You then have a free strategy call. Then you follow up. The good thing about this is you've got way more control over the consideration process, the consideration phase here, because you've got a triage call and the strategy call. So you give them something to do in between those 2 calls. This process typically shortens the sales cycle, works really well. The problem is it still only converts at about 25 to 40%. And I don't like that, right? I spoke to an agency owner the other day in Sydney. It's $2 million a year. She's got a whole bunch of staff and a fancy new office. She said, I've got 9 proposals sitting in my inbox. It's going to cost me $2,000 in my team's time per proposal because of the amount of work that we put into these proposals. And she said, I'll win 3 of them. That's $18,000 investment to win 3 projects. They're horrible numbers. I don't like those numbers. I don't want to fix it. So pillar number 1 of what we teach here is called the paid discovery method. Now, quick show of hands in the chat. Who here is already selling paid discovery? Just let me know in the chat. I'll pop the chat window open here so I can see. If you're selling paid discovery, just let me know in the chat. Just say yes, or maybe you don't believe that paid discovery is possible. Maybe you're like, this is just complete BS. You can't get paid to do discovery. Let me know in the chat. I want to hear your feedback. So paid discovery method looks like this. Someone puts their hand up and expresses interest in what you're doing. By the way, everywhere it says playbook, that just means we have playbooks for each part of the process here. So someone puts their hand up and expresses interest. You have the pre-qualifying process, whether that's, text, DM, email. SMS is my preferred method of communication these days just because the response rates are really high. We then have a very quick call with someone, and on that call, we sell them paid discovery, right? We're selling someone on the very first call. And the reason this works is because paid discovery, the way that we teach it and the way that we sell it is nobody wants to pay for discovery, right? If you said to a client on the phone, well, we're going to run a paid discovery workshop, they would just be like, well, why am I paying you for discovery? You should just do that as part of the job. So we repackage it into what we call a digital roadmap. We turn it into a product. And a digital roadmap has some deliverables on the back end of it. It has beautiful Kanban boards and strategy documents that they get, right? So the client actually ends up with a strategy and a plan at the end of this process, and they have absolute clarity on what needs to happen over the next 12 months, and they have a plan on how to execute it and what's going to happen when. And that's presented as a strategy doc and a Kanban board, right? Now, they can either hire you to help them implement the plan, or they can do it themselves, or they can shop it around to another agency. They've bought it, they own it, it's theirs, right? They have it. The reason this works in the sales process is because paid discovery is typically a lower ticket item than trying to sell them a website. So the sweet spot for paid discovery, and it depends on your client and your agency, but the sweet spot is around about $1,500 to $5,000 for a paid discovery workshop, right? It's easier to sell that than it is a $15,000 website, even a $5,000 website. It's easier to sell paid discovery than a $3,000 a month retainer because there's no commitment. It's a transaction. It's a 2-week process. It's $1,500 or $2,500 or whatever it is. And there's very low risk, right? And the client is going to end up, and there's a whole bunch of ways that you can remove more risk and make it a no-brainer, and we can talk about that stuff later. But this typically converts much higher on the front end because of those reasons. It's low risk, low investment, low commitment, right? And so what happens is we sell them paid discovery, we give them some homework to do, and then we run the paid discovery workshop, okay? Now what happens here is we just remove the consideration phase altogether. You know, that awful phase of the buyer's journey that we have no control? We just get rid of it. We just bypass it. This is why this model works so well. They're aware that they have a problem. We get on a call and we just force the decision. Are we going to work together or not? If we're going to work together, this is how we work. Right? It's like going to the doctor's surgery. You don't get to negotiate with their process because they're the doctor, right? You are the specialist. Your clients don't negotiate your process with you. They've come to you for help. You need to lead them through your process with conviction and strength and belief. Yeah. And the first thing we do for every client is we put them through a digital roadmap to make sure that we know what we're doing over the next 12 months so that we can deliver a successful project or a successful outcome. The other reason I like this is because you get paid, right, when you actually win the client, but you also get paid here. You get paid to do the onboarding. Essentially what you're doing is you're doing onboarding first before they commit to working with you, okay? The other reason I like this is because on the front end, it typically converts at about 75%, right? If someone's on a call with you and you sell them paid discovery, our agencies are converting at around about 75% from inquiry to paid discovery. What's happening then on the back end is they're converting paid discovery clients into an ongoing engagement at an average of 85%. And if you think about it, it makes perfect sense. If a client's already invested $1,200 or $1,500 or $3,000 into a digital roadmap, the chances of them converting into an ongoing engagement are very high because they already have skin in the game, okay? Now, part of the key of these successful numbers is being really stringent with your pre-qualifying process and your triage call, right? There's no point trying to put a square peg into a round hole, right? There's no point taking a mum and pop shop that's, you know, just because someone needs your help, but they don't have budget doesn't mean you are obliged to help them. Okay, so getting clear about your ideal client profile and who you serve and how you help them and what you do and your kind of the way that you work, that's all going to help with your pre-qualifying process so that you don't waste time trying to pitch paid discovery to someone who just doesn't value what it is you do and doesn't have the budget or doesn't even believe the internet's here to stay or doesn't believe AI is a thing, right? We just don't want to talk to those clients because they have the wrong mindset. And we're not an education company. We don't need to spend 3 months educating someone before they convert, right? So AI, quick tip here for AI. If you're not already using some kind of note taker, if you are, you can probably do this with whatever note taker you're using, but we use Fathom.video and we have a whole bunch of ChatGPT prompt packs which make paid discovery super easy. And let me explain the way this works is we have a prompt pack for ChatGPT and we had Kushbu from E2M did an amazing presentation at MavCon about building AI agents. And so what we're doing now is building specific AI agents to help us with parts of the business. I've got my first 2 agents, one called Dharma, who's my email copywriter. She's helping me write my email newsletters, all of my emails. And the other one is Harriet, who's my HR executive. And she's helping me with my org chart and writing job scorecards and meeting agendas. It's amazing. It's freeing up so much time. It's great. The next one I'm about to create is Eva, who's my executive assistant. I actually used to have an EA called Eva, so I'm going to try and replicate her because she was a genius. And our prompt packs allow you to go into a paid discovery session with a client because with paid discovery, your job is to be the journalist, not the genius, right? Your job is just to collect good tape from your clients, as they say in the documentary making world. Just collect lots of good information and then come back to the studio and dissect it and put together a strategy based on what you've learned. Now that takes time and can require lots of thinking, which hurts. So we use ChatGPT to do a lot of the work up front. Sometimes clients can't answer questions like, what's their vision? Where do they want to be in 3 years' time? What's the success metrics for a website launch? Sometimes the clients can't answer these questions. So we use ChatGPT to feed all the information for the prospect into the AI, get all the answers in advance. So if the client gets stuck during the process, we can just lead the conversation. Your job during paid discovery is not to give them any solutions, right? Do not give solutions during paid discovery. That's what you do after paid discovery. That's where you present your recommendations, which I'll show you in a minute. Your job during paid discovery is to ask lots of questions, get lots of answers, okay? And ChatGPT will help you do that. Then present the workshop. If you're doing it over Zoom, use Fathom.video to record it, and then take the transcript, stick it back into ChatGPT, and basically get ChatGPT to come up with the strategy, right, based on what you've learned during the workshop. You can come up with a 12-month strategy for a client in about 45 minutes and not have to put pen to paper. It's amazing. Like when Corey and I started out, we would sit down at the computer and spend hours writing up proposals and spec documents for clients, right? That could be done in a matter of minutes now. So they're the two resources I wanted to share there. And again, this is not me bragging. This is me just showing you real people who are having success here, because I know some of you are skeptical, okay? One call closed for digital roadmap at 1,200, likely to be 8 websites on SEO plans plus 2 to 3 site builds. That landed, by the way. That ended up coming through for Simon. Sarah, me again, we just landed a $78,000 project off the back of our paid discovery workshop. That was done over a 12-month process, so the client was paying whatever it was, $8,500 a month or something. Matthew Jeffrey did the paid discovery, went back and made the recommendations. Within half an hour, they came back and said, hey, Matthew, thank you for the tactical plan, which is what he calls it. Doesn't call it paid discovery, calls it the tactical plan. And for today's discussion, we would like to go ahead with the $2,500 package. Awesome. So that's the recap there. Take a screenshot of that if you like. That's the recap of how paid discovery works. You get paid to do the discovery, then you get paid when you win the client, which I want to talk about next. Now, how are we going for time, by the way, Corey? We're
coming, we've got about 20 or so minutes.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to skip through some of this. The question is, what are we selling after paid discovery, right? We're not selling a project or a retainer. So we've done paid discovery. We've come back with our recommendations. What are we selling exactly? We're not selling a project or a retainer. Projects are like trying to eat a cardiac burger from Heart Attack Grill. It starts out as a good idea, but everyone very quickly becomes, congested and you get indigestion because you've bitten off more than you can chew. And it all starts out with good intentions, but quickly becomes overwhelming, right? I've actually been to Heart Attack Grill in Arizona, and you don't want to have a cardiac burger. Retainers are just a fancy way of selling time for money, and nobody wants to do that because you're always going to be arguing about the value of your time. So what are we selling instead after paid discovery? We're selling a growth plan. Now, a growth plan is a plan that's designed to help your clients grow. And the simplest way I can explain this is you effectively become like a fractional digital strategist or a fractional growth hacker for your clients. Your job and what your clients actually want you to do, even though they won't tell you this, your clients actually want you to help them figure out what they should do next to get closer to their goals. That's what your clients are actually paying you for. Whether you're selling websites or SEO or whatever you're currently doing, the client, and this is why I think there's such a big disconnect and client relationships are so difficult in our space, is because the client doesn't actually really care about the website or the SEO or the paid ads or the content or whatever it is you're doing. What they want is they just want to get closer to their goals, and they want you to tell them what they should work on next, okay? It's not a project or a retainer. A growth plan offers your clients a tailored plan for growth, constant visible progress, and radical accountability. And the growth plan method gives you more recurring revenue, stickier clients, and better client outcomes because you plan the work in advance. So scope creep is gone forever because everyone knows what we're working on in each 30-day or 14-day sprint, right? And that's how a growth plan plays out. Without changing anything you're doing or adding any new services, we have web dev agencies that are just deep technical development agencies who are working with their clients on growth plans, right? Basically working in 14-day sprints or 30-day sprints, right? Plus, it's totally scalable because it can operate without you because growth plans turn your services into products, which I'll show you in a moment. So here's the growth plan method. Of course, I had to come up with a rhyming couplet so that you'd remember it. So with a growth plan, you basically analyze, accelerate, review, and iterate. What that means is that you analyze where the client's at and where they're trying to get to. You accelerate one thing at a time. You then review what's happened and review what to do next, and then you iterate, okay? And this is typically a 14-day cycle if you're working with small business. If you're working with government or enterprise or non-profits, they move a bit slower. It might be a 30-day sprint, okay? And the constant progress that reduces churn happens between this constant review of where we're at and iterating on what we're going to do next. And so we've got a whole acronym and a whole meeting agenda that we work through with clients, and it always starts with recapping what we did, what the results are, and then what's the plan. Are we still on the same page? Okay, this is what we're going to do in the next sprint, right? So this whole cycle just repeats here, and this is what keeps clients stickier because, usually when you build a website with a client or you undertake a big project, you get this great brief from them and then you disappear and you don't talk to them for 6 weeks, and then you come back and go, ta-da, and they go, oh, that's not what I wanted, because their expectations have changed in that period of time where you weren't communicating. Now, the other thing is that during this process, you might, and we've got agencies that do this, during the process of running a growth plan, you might have a conversation after a few months and after you've got some quick wins on the board where you say to the client, you know what, we need to rebuild your website, or we need to rebrand your branding because that's the thing that's getting in the way. We've got you some quick wins, but we actually just need to redo the website. That's the big elephant in the room now. And that's a separate project that you can scope out and get paid separately. Or you can just roll it into the growth plan. We have agencies doing that as well. The pricing, you got to know your numbers and work out your profit margins, which is a whole other conversation. But you can either scope out a project separately or you can make it part of the growth plan. So the old way was a free strategy call, pitch a project, and then add ongoing services later. The new way is get paid for discovery, get paid for quick wins, and get paid for the projects later. If some of our agencies don't even want to do those projects, they're like, no, we'll refer you to another agency who can build the website. We're just doing your fractional growth. Okay. Again, there's just some, just to not to brag. I'm not bragging here. I'm just letting you know this works. John here, first digital roadmap presentation, the client signed on for an $8,300 per month plan. They wanted to pay up front, so he had some tax issues because he didn't want to pay so much tax in the financial year. Simon converted an email growth plan into a 12-month, $10K a month subscription with a US-based client. He's now 6 from 7 from closing growth plans to a 12-month subscription. So this is 7 paid discovery sessions. He's closed 6 into a 12-month subscription. He's an email marketing agency, basically for Shopify stores. $3K a month for 12 months, sold off the back of a 1,200 roadmap session. And this happened at MavCon. When we were in the room at MavCon, this happened. Renee, my first big win since I signed up, he's in the Netherlands. A client just approved my roadmap, 8 months worth $108,000, and the option to continue after that for $10,000 a month. Woohoo! So we were celebrating in the room with Renee. That happened on implementation day. All right, quick check-in. On a scale of 1 to 10, how are we feeling about making a small change in our business model to try and accelerate our results? Just give me a number in Maxie Morrison 11. Just give me a number in the chat. How are we on a scale of 1 to 10? Ramaya's a 10, William Miller's a 10, Sherry says sounds great, Damon says a 10, Sherry said a 10. We did this at MavCon, remember, Corey? How are we feeling? 1 to 10 went around.
Okay.
Debashish is an 8. How do we get you to a 9, Debashish? Justin's a 10, Mark's a 10. Awesome, great. All right, so growth plans. I want to talk very quickly about how growth plans turn your services into products. Products are scalable, services are not. Right now, I know you're drinking from the fire hose here, and I'm going through a lot, but I just want you guys to know what's possible, and then we can talk about the details later. Growth blueprints are the third pillar, really, of what we teach here. And a growth blueprint this is how you productize your services. Okay, this is a rhetorical question. Would you like to see some examples? This is me asking for your permission for me to keep going. Yes, of course we would. So here's an example. Now, by the way, I'm tech agnostic. I don't care what project management system you use or what tech stack you use in the business, right? It just doesn't matter. I design these things in Canva for a reason. In fact, I do them on a whiteboard, right? The reason I do it is because I don't care what my team use. They use Asana. I don't. They shout at me in Slack when they need me to do something. I'm like, great. So I don't use a to-do manager because that's not the way my brain works. So I like to draw things out. And this is what I do. I present this to a client. I say, hey, in the first 14 days, this is a real example of a client I work with in Canada. Started working with them. They had about 5,000 uniques a week to one page on their website from a search term that they'd done really well with, and no lead capture on that page. And I'm like, this is like shooting fish in a barrel. We just need to collect email addresses off this webpage. So I explained it to them like this. Hey, you've got this traffic source sending people to a landing page or a blog post. What we're going to do is we're going to put a call to action for a free resource and then redirect them to a thank you page. If they go to exit the page, we're also going to put in an exit pop-up with the same call to action to try and capture that traffic. Does that make sense? And they said, yes, that's exactly what we want. I said, great. That's where the conversation finished with the client. And then on the back of the napkin, I've got my checklist of what needs to happen, which I give the team. Hey, team, these guys want lead capture. Follow the blueprint. Here's the checklist. you might notice it doesn't mention any plugins. It's irrelevant. My team know which plugins to use. I don't even know what plugins to use these days because I've been out of it for so long, right? But this is what needs to happen. We need to identify the landing page, which I did. We need to put together a free resource, which the client did. We need to publish the thank you page, which the team did. Then put a call to action and test with the CRM, which the team did. Then make sure that the delivery email is tested, which the team did. Then launch the thing, which the team did, right? That's the checklist. Now, yes, there are some more details in there, which the team know and the team document, okay? But this is the basis of a blueprint. It's a flow chart you show the client and a checklist you give the team. And the reason these work is because there is absolute congruence and consistency between what the client is approving and what the team is delivering, right? Here's one for a recruitment funnel. I did a lot of work with accountants over the years, and their biggest thing is recruiting good applicants. So we've actually just built this for ourselves now because we're recruiting a new client success manager in the States. So have a traffic source which sends people to a recruitment landing page. That then goes for an application form. They book in to talk to the recruitment agency or the company, and then a thank you page. And now if they fill in the application form and don't make it through to the calendar, there's an email sequence which reminds them, hey, we like your application, go schedule a call, right? The client approves that because they get it. They go, yeah, that makes perfect sense. That's what we want. Great. Here's the checklist of what needs to happen. Some of it's for the team, some of it's for the client, right? We might need an agency to go and do the video production. If they haven't got a vision, mission, values video completed, we might need to help them get that done. Here's the checklist of what needs to happen. Another one for a webinar blueprint. It's kind of weird because you're in this at the moment. Traffic source goes to a webinar registration. Then there's the webinar live room. That's where we are right now, ladies and gentlemen. Then there's, sometimes we have a calendar page for people to book in a call. Don't worry, we haven't got that here. Then a thank you page. And of course, the email reminders that follow people up. I present that to a client. They say, yes, that's what we want. We know how this works. We've seen these, but we've never done it. That's exactly what we want. That's what I give my team. There's the checklist for the team, okay? Back of the napkin stuff, technology agnostic, doesn't matter if you use Asana or ClickUp or Teamwork, it's irrelevant, right? Get the client to approve the flow and then get the team to deliver the checklist, right? And that's how, by the way, you build one of these once, they're infinitely scalable because every client that comes in the door says, oh, we need to, you help them figure out they need to do lead capture. You just show them your lead capture blueprint. They approve it, you go bang. And you know what? By the way, here's a little advanced hack for you. You can attach these to cards in ClickUp and show this image to the client and they go, yes. And then the rest of that card in ClickUp is a bunch of subtasks assigned off to the team. You build these once, you build a library of products that become scalable and function without you, right? Which is the goal. Okay, let's recap. Imagine getting paid to acquire clients, those clients being the best clients you've ever had, growing your recurring revenue so you can pick and choose who you work with, getting paid for your knowledge and experience by clients who value it because they've paid for it, having your team deliver consistent results without you becoming the bottleneck. Pillar number one is the paid discovery method. Get paid to acquire the best clients you've ever had without wasting time on free strategy calls or writing proposals. Pillar number two is the growth plan method. Grow your recurring revenue and deliver consistent, measurable progress for stickier clients. And number three is the growth blueprints. That is the simplified agency model, the new way to create more profit from your agency by doing less and working better. So you have three choices. You can do nothing, which is totally fine. You can do it yourself, which is also totally fine, or you can do it with us. I'll just stick this up on the screen. The way that you do it with us is you use that code and go there. Now, let me just walk you through what's going to happen here. And by the way, I'm fine either way. I love you all. We'll still be friends. Please, there's no obligation here, okay? This is our flagship training called the Paid Discovery Method. If you use that code, you'll get 90% off. When you go to that page and the checkout page, you'll see a spinning wheel come up. Ignore it, because if you spin the wheel, you'll probably lose. If you use this code, you'll get 90% off, which means it's a couple of $100 off. It's a couple of $100, right? It's normally $2,000. It's a couple of $100 for the course. Now, there is full transparency. When you check out, there's an upsell for the growth plan method, which you can ignore for now. Okay, just say, no, I don't want that. The investment's $199. You'll get the Paid Discovery Method training. It's got everything I've spoken about. It's got all the templates, the Kanban boards, the strategy documents, the ChatGPT prompt packs. Everything you need is in there to implement paid discovery from soup to nuts. The sales call, what to say on the sales call, how to present it, the recommendation session, everything you need, okay? We also give you a 365-day money-back guarantee. So if you make the investment and in a year's time, you're like, this is rubbish. It doesn't work. It was never going to work. Just send us an email. We'll refund your money. No stress. Okay. All right. Questions.
Gosh, that was fantastic. I hope everybody got the link and look up.
I love what Beth said. Beth said it's a back-end method for creating unicorn clients. I love that so much, Beth.
We need that. I need to send that back to you so you can get it to team because that's awesome, Beth.
Oh man, I'm totally going to use that, but I'm going to give Beth Livingston credit for it because it's like a Trojan horse for creating unicorn clients. I love it so much. Matthew, so will it work for cold email? Right. So the traffic source doesn't matter. Like however you're getting people on a call is irrelevant. I've never had any success with cold email. I just love good old fashioned attraction marketing by putting out great content, right? That's my method. So we use Facebook ads. We use content, we use our podcast, our YouTube channel. I love doing webinars like this. But however you're getting people on a call, it doesn't matter. The idea is that on that first call, if they're a good fit and they fit your ICP and you genuinely believe you can help them, then your job is to pitch them a paid discovery workshop. Corey, did I miss anything? Have you got any questions?
I don't think so, but I was trying to watch for you so you could just talk. If you have questions for Troy, please post them now. We got about 9 more minutes, and grateful to have Troy here sharing this. I've heard this a couple of times, and I keep going, oh my gosh, compelling. So I'm married to an agency owner, and I told her, Troy, you know her real well too. I was like, you need to sign up and join Mavericks, because I was like, you've got it down where you're flipping a mindset of this thing that I used to give away. Now I get paid for it, but it leads to the whole process. It feels like a more holistic relationship too, by the way.
Yeah.
Like when you're talking about paid discovery at the first, that's really compelling. What are some of the high things you do in the first pillar, the paid discovery?
Yeah. So again, paid discovery is, I think of paid discovery as it's the front door, right? It's the client's entry into your agency. And so the way I run paid discovery workshops is we put on the bells and whistles. When I don't do them in person anymore, and I very rarely do them because I don't have a lot of, like, full transparency. I've got a handful of private clients I work with because I spend all of my time helping other agencies, which I love. And the only reason I have my own handful of private clients is to keep my saw sharp, is to keep me in touch, right? But when I ran paid discovery workshops in person, I was getting paid $5,000 for a full day workshop. Right? I would put on lunch. I would bring in some catering. I would make it an experience, right? I had a screen made sure they had a screen I could plug my computer into. We had the slides. Everyone had workbooks. By the way, all the templates for this stuff is in the training. So we give you the workbooks. We give you the slide deck. They're all white labeled. You can rebadge them, do whatever you like with them. And we've had agencies take photos of their paid discovery workshops in person around the boardroom and share it with us. So you really create a great experience for the client. Then the biggest job of a paid discovery workshop is to get your clients on the same page. Because I can promise you something, it's been a minute since anyone actually sat down with your client and paid attention and actively listened to the challenges that they have. Their spouse stopped listening to them a long time ago. Their business partners resent them, right? Their investors just want better return, right? Their clients are a pain in the neck. Like the business owner just wants a shoulder to lean on and someone to listen to them and actually empathize. That's your job in paid discovery. Then the big temptation is you start solving problems for them in paid discovery. And that's why I say your job is to be a journalist, not a genius, right? There's a fantastic book, 2 fantastic books. One's called The Coaching Habit, one's called The Advice Trap, written by the same guy. I can't remember his name, but it's basically a coaching methodology that says you ask lots of questions, you don't provide answers, right? Avoid getting into the trap of giving lots of advice. And I talk about this in the training. Your job is just to ask questions, collect lots of information, go back to the studio. There's usually like somewhere between 3 and 7 days between your paid discovery workshop and you presenting your recommendations. It gives them time to percolate what's happened. It gives people time to process. You go back, you recap what you learned during paid discovery. The client's nodding based on what you told us. This is what we learned. Here's your ICP. Here's what you're trying to do. Here's what we think might work. Here's our plan over the next 12 months. If we were to work together, I'm going to say this slowly because here's the $64 million line that closes clients, right? If we were to work together over the next 12 months, here's what we would do in this order. and you show them the plan. Now, what you've just done is pre-framed the fact, the coaching habits, thank you, by Michael Stainer Bunger. Get around that guy. He's an Australian. He's a thought leader. He's a genius when it comes to this stuff. What you've done is by saying if we were to work together over the next 12 months, is you've pre-framed that this is a 12-month relationship at least. In fact, I now say if we were to work together over the next 3 to 5 years, here's the kind of thing that we would do to completely transform your agency from where you are now into a profitable asset that serves you and your family. These are the big chunky things that we know that we need to work on, right? And we have an 81-point checklist that we work with agencies to take them from, scrambling to secure. And so we've pre-framed that this is a long-term relationship, and then we just lay it out and we show them. And the client looks at us like, oh my gosh, this makes perfect sense. This is, yes, we want to do that. And yes, we want to do that. We've been talking about this why haven't we already done this? Because there's a gap. They don't have the resources, the time, the skills to do it themselves. And you know what else they don't have? They don't have a plan. The value in paid discovery is the plan itself. That is the most valuable part of it, right? And then they can either hire you to help them implement, or they can do it themselves or hire another agency.
But they have that they could take if they wanted to. I mean, there's tons of value there. And I'm thinking of clients I've talked to over the years. You go, they're coming to you because they don't know. They don't even know what the plan should be. Mm-hmm. And so it seems like this first pillar is clarity. What do they really 100%. Want? Then taking that journalist mindset, what are they really trying to get to? Put it into a plan they can see and go, wow, it feels clear. This is the path I want.
Yep. 100%.
And then you tip the other.
Yeah. The a couple of questions. Pia, can you cover the tech tools you use? So for paid discovery, we use ChatGPT. We've got a prompt pack, which basically helps us fill in all the gaps for the workshop. It actually helps us design the workshop, and then it helps us write the strategy after the workshop. So we just use ChatGPT with some custom prompt packs, which are in the training. And then we have a Google Doc strategy template, which we use ChatGPT to fill in, and we go back and present that as kind of the executive summary of the plan. And then I use ClickUp. I have a 12-month Kanban board template in ClickUp, which is in the training. And what I do is I just take the strategy that we've designed and I just plot it out, month 1, month 2, month 3, month 4, so they can see a nice visual of, so you walk through all the things you're going to do and then show them the timeline. They're like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. That's exactly what we've been trying to do, and we just can't get our act together because we're too busy running our business and serving our clients. You come in with this beautiful plan, and then guess what? That ClickUp template becomes their project plan. You just duplicate the template, put their name on it. All the growth blueprints are built into it with the flow charts and the checklists. It's all there, right? And they approve that, and you go, great. You start assigning to team members and put dates on it, and you have a project plan. And the beautiful thing about this is there's no disconnect between what they've approved and what you're trying to deliver. They're literally approving the project plan in front of them as you build it in front of them on the Kanban board. Doesn't matter. You can use Notion, Asana. It's irrelevant. It's the tools are irrelevant. But in the actual workshop, we use Fathom.video, and then we use or you can use Otter AI. If you're doing in-person workshops, you can record it on an iPhone and use Otter AI. And our prompt packs, our ChatGPT prompt packs. That's the tech stack really and Zoom. That's the tech stack for paid discovery.
It's pretty lean and efficient.
Yeah. And we don't talk about any tech. Sherry, that discount's good. It's good for you. Whenever you want to use it, come and use it, right? That coupon will be good for you guys forever, okay? We don't talk about we don't get into technical stuff. We know if they want to build a website on WordPress, we have that conversation, but we don't talk about plugins or themes or any of that, or hosting or any of that kind of stuff in the workshop, right? We don't talk about technical stuff in the workshop. Our job is to ask questions. Like, you don't ask the doctor, what brand of stethoscope are you using to measure my heart, right? You have no idea, does it? Like, just let the doctor do his job. And so your positioning in these workshops is you really need to own that position. And remember, I think the biggest problem that we all have is that we spend too much time hanging out in groups with other people that look like us, right? And what happens is we end up feeling a bit stupid because we think everyone else is smarter than us. You go and talk to some people in the real world about what it is you do and watch their eyes glaze over because they don't understand what you're saying. And what that means is that you are in the 0.01% of people on the planet who know how to do what we do, right? Go to any of the tools online and find search trends or social media trends for stuff that we do, web design, digital marketing, SEO, right? The volume is so small because nobody knows what we do, right? So when you're speaking with a client, we've all got imposter syndrome because I'm in a Facebook group with Corey Miller and he knows more about this than I do. And now I'm trying to present this to a client and I feel like an imposter. You have to remember, your client doesn't know anything. If they did, they would have already executed and they wouldn't be talking to you about it. The reason they're talking to you is because they need your help. So just own the fact that you know more than them and just be comfortable with that. Not arrogant, just be quietly confident that you know what you're talking about and start hanging out in groups where people don't know what you're talking about because all of a sudden you'll feel smarter.
Well, as I hear you talk and reflection on all the things, and I've got, let's say, 3 pages of notes now to add to my other from MavCon, but is what you're teaching and showing is how to be a client leader. Lead them where they need to go. And that's connecting it where it's great for everybody. Like coming out of that to have some plan to know that I could go forward, I can take that wherever, but like some clarity in that, I think is so huge. So I love how you teach client leadership, my friend.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. Pia says this brings me back to my consulting days, assessment, recommendations, and implementation, except I did it in person. Yeah, 100%. And, you know, consulting, the word consultant, the origin of that word is actually to protect the client, right? And that's what your job is as a client leader, is to protect the interest of that client. Because if you have successful client, and goes back to our mission, right? Our job here at Agency Mavericks is to help you do a better job for your clients. We're not going to teach you how to build websites or which theme to use. That's not what we do. Our job is to help you protect your client, because if you can make your clients more successful, all of a sudden we're distributing abundance through the agencies, right? That's our job.
Sure, gave you a compliment here. Natural, love it. Just don't have the process in place, and that's what you're sharing you that this particular link comes to. So make sure you click that link, and that's a very generous offer, Troy, and I appreciate it very much.
Yeah. Oh man, we're family. Like seriously, as I said, you know, and you know, if by the way, if you guys ever want to just jump on a call with us, like we don't do hard, like we have team who can jump on a call and have a conversation with you about where you're at. We say no to 95% of the people that we talk to on the phone because they're not ready to work with us, right? We have one-on-one mentoring programs that you can work with us, but 95% of the people in our ecosystem are not right. But there's no harm in jumping on a quick call to get some advice, right? So if you want to do that, just reach out to us and let us know. We'll schedule a call with Andres or Damien, and you know, you just have a quick chat and find out if it makes sense to work with us. If not, then there's tons of content in our group. There's tons of, you know, self-paced learning trainings that you can get around. And, you know, just get around the podcast, get around our YouTube channel, figure stuff out. I get testimonials from people who have said, I'm never going to be a client, but I've used this one thing that I learned and this happened, and thank you so much. And that's awesome. That's great. Like the 5% of people that do become our clients actually help us fund all of the free content we put out for the 95 who are never going to become our clients. And that's totally fine. That's the way it should work.
So to do that, Troy, they can go to agencymavericks.com, hit the request a call button.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it. And someone will get in touch. You know, we've got a couple of bots who reach out to you to try and schedule a call, or Andres will just pick up the phone and give you a call. So if you want to have a chat to us, just go to the website, request a call, and one of the team will get in touch.
My friend, we're already 4 minutes over. I've already taken an hour of your time, but this is gold. Thank you for sharing this again. I know we had this way in advance of San Diego, but I'm so glad. I was like, okay, it's here. We have people from our team that are going to be watching too. There's so much to learn. So, hey, I should do a rating, which I already know the rating. How fast should we get Troy and team back on for another A2 hosting webinar? And I think that's a 50. But my friend, I know it's first of the day for you. You've already kind of gone over, but thank you so much. You've loaded it out. People, head to the link. You just heard. Just head to the link, use that discount code and see how you can take a next step. And then really, if you see, and I heartily endorse what Troy and Agency Mavericks does, I know the coaches he's talking about. I've met them. I've heard their stories, shared dinner with them. And so it's the real deal. So please check out Agency Mavericks. Troy Dean's not going to be a stranger. I'm going to beg him to come back and do more of these. But my friend, I know you have a team to run and things to do and members to coach. Thank you for your time today. We so much appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much. I want to thank Meg Appleby and Ramaya Trask who have jumped in and grabbed those courses. So look forward to hanging out with you guys and helping you. Thank you so much for being here, guys. Corey, just appreciate this opportunity so much. And I will come back and do this anytime I can. And as I said, we have team in the States too, Johnny and Adam and Jen. We have Tim, who's based in Thailand as well. We've got plenty of coaches and talent around here who can jump on and have calls with people. So, yeah, looking forward to doing this again for sure.
Thanks, my friend, again. Thanks, everybody, for being here. And be sure to stay tuned. We'll have more like this and hopefully Troy back very, very soon. So,
appreciate it. Thanks, Corey. Thanks, guys.